Hey, welcome to your Virgo horoscopes for the week of the 11th through the 17th of February. I almost said January. We're totally well past that at this particular point. No planets in Virgo this week. Focus is on the home. Juno continues to be a focus here and continues to be retrograde as well. We did have the dark moon last week. She did go retrograde, went into Leo. She'll be back later. You do get a break from her this week for sure. Focus is on the home. Juno in retrograde also focused on the home. As we have talked about before, Juno is all about how we relate to others, specifically within the relationships that we do build with others. And I think that Virgos actually are a little different than any other sign, really, in terms of how they build relationships, because Virgos have to be a little different no matter what. I mean, it's because you guys are Virgos. It's a Virgo thing. I get it. I do. I get it. And I sympathize. Being an Aquarius, we're a little different too, so that's okay. But I feel like being a little different might be a bit of a problem for somebody this week because that Juno is retrograde. And so one of the things that's coming up around this for you guys is how you approach your relationships. There's this fantastic Virgo client that is amazing. I love her to death. Super successful lady. I think she's in her 70s and she still has two or three jobs or something like that. She just keeps on going for it. She's amazing. She's awesome. She's a professional. And being a professional, her relationship to her family is much different than, say, what we would think a mother's relationship is to her children. She's not there, obviously. She doesn't not love her children. It's just different, in terms of, when you grow up as kids, you expect to see mom at home more often. Mom's the nurturer, mom's the one that does all the stuff. This was just a little different for them. It was dad doing that more than mom. And so consequently, because you see how other people live, it sort of looks kind of strange from the outside. And even the kids might think, wait a minute, how come you did it this way? This is totally different than the way it, quote unquote, should be done. And I feel that that's really how it should be done, is what's kind of sort of screwing you guys up this week. Because when somebody comes at you and says, you know what, you should approach these relationships in the same way that everybody else does, your first response is going to be like, oh, maybe they're right. Now I feel bad because I'm not like everybody else. But then your Virgo comes out and you're like, wait a minute. Everything inside of me is like, I don't want to be like everybody else. I mean, why would I be like everybody else? I'm awesome. I am exactly who I need to be. And what they're not seeing is the gift of you not being like everybody else. The fact that they have something in that relationship that the next person doesn't have, because let's face it, they're not with a Virgo, right? So I feel like this week, this is going to come up to where it's almost like you're called out on the carpet for not being who you're supposed to be. And that may feel bad at first, but then it doesn't feel bad because you start to see, as you get through the bad feeling and look at it for what it is, that what you're providing is so much better than what everybody else is providing in many different ways. That doesn't mean that you guys are perfect, okay? And that you don't have any downsides to your personalities. Let's face it, nothing could be farther from the truth. And no, you are not perfect. I do agree that one of the things that is really important in relationships is compromise. So, yes, you may have to change a little bit in order to appease that person, but not to the extent that you are changing who you actually are. So, really, this is about making sure that your good traits are being used for the right reason, that your bad traits are not being used more than your good traits, or that you're using your bad traits in a productive way and not necessarily a destructive way. I think anybody that's in a relationship with a Virgo has difficulty there just because they tend to be a little different. They don't do the same things that everybody else does. And when we start to embrace those differences in ourselves from other people, it's easier for us to stand up and say, okay, I hear you on I'm not spending enough time with you. Now let me show you what you're getting out of that that other people don't, because you are spending lots and lots of time all the time. So bottom line here is there's no perfect person and there's no perfect relationship, and perfection really does not exist in the human world. So if you think you're perfect, you just go ahead and forget about that right now. Nobody is. And by the time you actually figure out how to be perfect, your time here is done. And you don't need to learn that lesson anymore. So let's not be so quick to jump on that, okay? And look at it for exactly what it is. You bring something different to the table, and that should be celebrated, but also be open to hearing what the other person has to say, because it is all about compromise. Annoyingly so, yes. So that's what I have for you guys this week. If you love your horoscopes, do consider sending a tip or donation through my coffee link down there in the description of the video. Really appreciate that. You guys are awesome. Love all the coffees. Also, check out my website. You can book time there. You can check out the membership options. You can just get in touch with me. And, for whatever reason you want to get in touch with me, that's perfectly fine, preferably for business. Okay. If you're one of those guys that just wants to chit chat, don't get in touch with me. I'm not into that. I'm Melissa Bruce, Heavy Metal Psychic. I will see you guys next week. And in the meantime, you guys make it a great Virgo week, and I will see you next week.